The air conditioner hummed softly, as if whispering. The sun hadn't yet risen, and I found myself in the car, clutching the steering wheel tightly. No destination was set. All there was a sense of tranquility, a simple act of breathing. The house behind me appeared ordinary, windows closed, blinds slightly tilted. A figure moved down the upstairs hallway, one that I recognized well. I didn't need to check. I had learned every pattern in that place until they continued without me. Last night, Jessica had left our bed again, her footsteps light and quiet enough not to wake me. But this time I chose not to follow, not out of trust, but because it was unnecessary. I already knew. She believed I was asleep, a misconception she often held. Underestimating the length of silence that could keep a man awake was her mistake. She didn't know I could hear the floorboards creak under her heels at 2:03 a.m., or hear her soft laughter on the phone in the laundry room. Not complete sentences, just the unfamiliar giggles of a woman who no longer resembled my wife. An unfamiliar voice, not his, resonated. Hers instead. His voice had never reached me. He was clever, whoever he was. She, however, lacked intelligence. I didn't know his name then, but I recognized the scent he left on her. I knew the way she subtly touched her neck when she believed I wasn't looking. She was unfaithful, that much was certain. The particulars were merely details now. It was not the deceit itself that pained me most, but rather how our daughters took her side. Megan, 17, began treating me like a tenant instead of her father. Kylie, 14, mimicked phrases Jessica used. Word for word, "You're lost in your thoughts too much. Perhaps you need help. You overwork and don't truly see people." It was as if Jessica had given them lines for a school play, which they memorized without question or thought. The house no longer resembled home to me. The kitchen laughter, the inside jokes I wasn't privy to, the shared glances between my own flesh and blood, none of it seemed familiar anymore. It wasn't merely infidelity that I was experiencing. I felt alienated from my home. Dear friends, if you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. I felt excluded. You might think anger would lead to overturning tables, shouting at someone, but when betrayal arrives gradually, it doesn't tear you apart. It penetrates, like a pervasive mold. It infiltrates room by room. Eventually, the memories decay as well. So I stayed in the car, not to drive, only to breathe. The rearview mirror reflected the house like a picture postcard with 3 lit windows. One of them was hers, one belonged to Megan, and one represented the hallway. Movement, another figure appeared. It could have been Kylie or someone else. I grabbed my phone. I now had the screenshots and messages. She carelessly left her laptop logged in one morning before bathing. I didn't intend to pry. I wasn't even curious. But as I glanced, I saw it all. The entire conversation. Jessica was the contact, saved under the name Mart. He was clueless about our encounter the previous night. He was still trying to fix the sink when she returned home, acting like nothing happened. As if an unnamed specter, he could betray her without uttering a single syllable of recognition. For 20 minutes, I scrutinized that name, the screen casting a luminous glow, my hands still damp from mending the pipe. No tears fell, no outburst of anger echoed, no fists struck the wall. Instead, I transcribed her messages, each word, every image, even the ones she believed were erased. Now I possessed them all. I knew what course of action I would take. But first, I needed to wait. Just a fleeting moment. That singular instant when the truth could not be denied. That decisive second when the veil would be torn away from her carefully constructed reality. And upon that happening, it wouldn't just affect her. Megan, Kylie, and all the others would feel it as well. On that particular day, I remained silent, not once addressing her in words. Our presence intermingled like strangers who had forgotten the art of companionship. She prepared eggs that bore no aroma, glided softly through the living room, shuffling guiltlessly in slippers. The pink robe she adorned was one I gifted her on our anniversary 2 years prior. She hummed as she watered the plants I had purchased, and I observed her from the hallway. She was aware of my presence, but she showed no concern. That evening she changed into tight jeans and a red top that I dislike. The same perfume, foreign to our surroundings, wafted through the air. I inquired about her plans for going out again, merely for appearance's sake. She returned a toothless smile. Rachel required assistance. Her latest breakup had been particularly difficult. This was the 3rd time this month that Rachel had parted ways with someone, it seemed. However, 2 days ago, she had reached out to me, asking if Jessica was all right, as she hadn't heard from her in ages. I relayed my greetings to Rachel. She showed no reaction. Jessica departed at exactly 7:48 p.m. The girls were still upstairs. I waited. This time I did not trail Jessica. Instead, I followed them because I knew what they intended. Cautiously, I ascended the stairs. The hallway was dimly lit, and Kylie's nightlight cast a soft blue glow through her door. Megan was in her room with headphones on, curled up in an oversized hoodie. She did not notice my entrance. Her phone stood elevated, displaying a FaceTime conversation. I moved nearer. There, on the screen, was his face, a man in his 40s with Jim's shoulders and a cocky grin. He said to inform Megan he was ready whenever she arrived. Megan chuckled, stating she would be there momentarily. Seeing her, I felt my heart pound against my chest like a battle drum. Kylie's voice echoed from the hallway, urging him not to depart this time since Mom had been distraught after last week. Mart waved at the camera and announced he would stay overnight. Megan glanced up, her gaze fixed on me as if I were an outsider, not her father. "Dad? What are you doing?" I remained silent, unable to respond. My limbs trembled, my ears rang, and a deep sense of shock coursed through me. My daughters, who should have stood by me, were partaking in this deceit, encouraging and facilitating the man with whom their mother was involved. The treachery I had anticipated came not from behind, but pierced me straight through my heart. Descended to the lower level once more. Messages, FaceTime calls, and the oppressive quietness all confirmed it. The evidence was undeniable, but I wasn't eager to incinerate everything quite yet. I required one last item, the final ember. Hence, I waited again. Because vengeance isn't about fury, it's about exposing the truth at an unexpected moment, a revelation they won't forget. And I was tired of being blindsided. The front door creaked open at 1:12 a.m. I heard the keys jingle first. She always seemed to extend the warning to the silence she was intruding. I remained on the couch, screen dimmed, phone still displaying the forgotten conversation thread. She entered slowly, as if not to disturb anyone's sleep, as if her deceit might make a sound if she moved too hastily. Red heels in hand again, hair disheveled in an uncanny way that defied wind explanation, lipstick smudged in the middle. Her scent lingered long after she walked past me, oblivious to my presence. "Jessica," I called out. She halted mid-stride, rigid like one tripped over a wire. She pivoted, sporting a hesitant grin. "You startled me," she admitted. "What are you doing sitting in the dark?" I remained silent, merely observing her. "Were you with him once more?" she questioned without emotion. "With whom?" "You're well aware of who." She folded her arms defiantly. "We've discussed this before. You're being overly suspicious." "Not this time," I asserted. I retrieved my phone from the cushion, displaying its screen to show her. "You forgot to close your laptop last week." Her eyes widened slightly as she took in the messages and images displayed on the screen. But it was brief, a fleeting flicker, a momentary flinch, a realization that I knew. And then it vanished. "So what?" she retorted dismissively. I stiffened. "What? You heard me." She moved nearer, her tone softening. "So, what if I did? What do you plan to do? Mourn? Abandon? But you won't. You never do." In that instant, it felt as though something in the room had changed. Not anger, not sadness, but clarity. "You seem untroubled by the girls knowing him, by them conversing with him." Jessica cocked her head, a smirk resurfacing. "They imagine this is acceptable. Perhaps they've grown weary of observing their father drown in despair over trivial matters." She voiced those sentiments. 14 years together, 2 children, countless sleepless nights, hospital visits, sacrificed vacations, and hidden gifts, all for naught. Her tone, indifferent and practiced, was more hurtful than a slap. "I want a divorce," I declared. She remained unfazed. "That's good. Perhaps you'll cease pulling everyone down." She moved towards the stairs, her casual words about the girls staying with her sounding like she spoke of groceries. "They'd be better off," she called over her shoulder, disappearing into the hallway shadows, her bare feet making soft echoes on the hardwood. I stood alone, and for the first time, I understood. She never ceased loving me. She fell in love with the power of watching me shatter. But I am yet unbroken. The next part follows when you're ready. That night, I couldn't sleep. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table as the refrigerator droned on, and the house seemed indifferent to its own shattered state. At 5:42 a.m., Megan appeared downstairs, clad in pajama pants, her hair in a messy bun, holding a mug as if it were hers by right. She hadn't noticed me at first. She was engrossed in her phone, smirking at some message. Most likely she was texting him. When she spotted me, she halted mid-stride. Her gaze sharpened and she said, "As flat as a board, you're up early." I hadn't slept. She didn't react. Instead, she poured herself some coffee, much like her mother. No emotion, just the typical teenage aloofness masked by lipstick and attitude. "Megan," I began, "we need to discuss something." "Discuss what?" she inquired. "My mom informed me you've been acting strange again." "Oh, that? That thing? Calling that strange?" As if my sorrow were some minor quirk, as if my heartache were a phase destined to pass. "She's cheating," I asserted. "You understand it. You've witnessed it. You've spoken to him. Don't lie to me." Megan remained unfazed by my words. After taking a sip of coffee and leaning against the counter, she declared, "She's content. You aren't. That's not deceitful. It's progressing." My mouth grew dry. "So, it's acceptable for your mother to secretly maneuver behind my back, deceive, use you and Kylie as a cover-up? That's what you envision love to be?" Megan casually shrugged. "I merely wish for her to be with someone who truly understands her. Understands her, like I felt like a stranger in my own marriage for 14 years. Like all those years of being present, of doing the hard work meant nothing because another person had fresher humor or a more lucrative income. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I simply stood still." "Does Kylie share similar sentiments?" I inquired softly. She remained silent, needing no words to express it. The sentiment was clear in her eyes. Both women had chosen their sides. They weren't perplexed. They weren't stuck in the middle. They weren't privy to the situation. When Jessica descended an hour later, she behaved as if nothing had transpired. She smiled at Megan, planted a kiss on her cheek, then turned towards me as if I were invisible. She mentioned she would be away most of the day and return late, asking me not to stay up. I inquired about her spending time with him again, to which she briefly hesitated before responding. Earlier, we had stopped doing check-ins, but now it seemed we were transitioning to countdowns instead. She asked what I was counting down to, and I revealed it was for the truth. She responded ambiguously, suggesting that whatever helps me cope, it's Tom. After she left, the kitchen fell silent once more, but I was anything but. The buried truth wasn't staying hidden much longer, and as soon as they thought themselves safe, I would unearth it, piece by piece, until the house crumbled under its weight. In need of a reality check, I phoned Rachel instead of sending a message. She answered after 2 rings, taken aback and cautious. "Tom," she said, "everything all right?" To which I replied, "I just needed a dose of reality." "Are you free now?" she inquired. "What's happening?" "Jessica admitted to staying with you multiple times," I confirmed. "Is that true?" She hesitated before answering. "Tom, no, not at all. Not once. I haven't seen her in weeks. Why is that? Is she all right?" "Yes, she's doing well, happier than ever." Rachel hesitated again before speaking up. "She had mentioned the two of you were dealing with something, but she never said you had separated." "We didn't. She simply left out that detail." Another pause followed. Then Rachel asked a question that made my breath catch in my chest. "Is Mart not her friend then?" I remained silent. Had you ever heard the name? I had, once. During a call, she accidentally let it slip. I asked who he was, and she deflected the question. She just said he understands me. It sounded rehearsed. I chose not to press further or blame her. Jessica has always made people feel like interlopers in her life when they ask genuine questions. "Thank you, Rachel," I replied, already making plans, already searching for answers. I now had a name, a pattern. All I needed was a location. That night, I tracked her. I waited a few blocks from the house and followed her car, lights off, trailing close behind. Prudent distance, no abrupt actions. I wasn't pleased about it. For a long time, there was no trace of pride in this home. She traveled across town, not to a hotel or a bar, but to a house. I parked a few houses away and observed her knock on the door. That's when I saw him. Mart, his button-up shirt undone excessively. They exchanged a familiar kiss, laughed, and she brushed something off his shoulder. He touched her waist, and then they went inside. I remained motionless for an hour, my hands frozen on the steering wheel as the house absorbed her presence. Eventually, I began to tremble. Not from anger anymore, but from clarity. It was genuine. No more questions, no more suspicions. I had all the answers I required. Upon returning home, Megan was in the kitchen and Kylie on the couch. They looked at me, frozen, when they noticed my expression. "Where's Mom?" Kylie questioned. I stared at her and calmly replied, "With Mart again." Megan sneered. "You spying on her now?" I retorted, "No." Kylie, standing defensively, affirmed what others had long known. "You're turning a simple matter into something more significant," she said. "But I'm merely stating the obvious," he retorted. "The only difference is that I'm no longer pretending not to notice." I walked away from them, their silence more deafening than anything they had spoken in weeks. In my office, I initiated a new document titled Custody. If they sought conflict, they were about to discover what it meant when the silent one decided to stop being courteous. The following morning, Jessica didn't return home. I texted her, but there was no response. Calling went straight to voicemail. The girls attempted to act nonchalant. Even Megan suggested, "She needed some personal space. You should respect that." However, I respected nothing anymore. At 10 a.m., I received a message from an unidentified number, brief, chilling, and warning me to keep out of their lives. Or else. The message bore no signature, no emoticon, only a threat. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen, wondering who sent it. Martin, Jessica, maybe both. Regardless, it was the final push. I phoned my attorney, disclosed everything, the texts, the emails, FaceTime calls, the threats. He replied, "You're in a challenging position, but you have evidence. And the court detests threats." A sliver of optimism surfaced within me. Later that day, I collected the girls from school. Megan gave me an icy stare as though I were a stranger, while Kylie avoided my gaze entirely. I attempted to engage. "Kylie, do you wish to discuss?" She shook her head and claimed to be fine. Megan sneered, "You believe yourself to be the only one hurt?" She's been making an effort to keep things functioning for months, by deceiving us all. Through her lies, even our daughters found themselves ensnared. That night, I sat isolated, feeling the house grow chillier, silence more deafening, and betrayal deeper. Beneath it all, a resilient, unyielding determination stirred within me. I wouldn't let my family be torn apart by falsehoods and duplicity without a struggle. The following evening, Jessica returned as if no incident had transpired. Her hair was curled, her complexion radiant, and she donned a fresh blouse bearing a price tag on its side. Upon entering, she deposited her keys, bestowed a kiss on Megan's cheek, and gave Kylie a casual shoulder squeeze. Her gaze then fell upon me. "Did you cook?" she inquired, glancing at the counter. The aroma palatable. I remained stationary, apron still in place, observing as she casually traversed my domain like an invited guest. She snatched a fork and began picking at the chicken directly from the tray. No plate, no gratitude, no modesty. I remained silent, merely watching. Then I retrieved the envelope from my pocket and pushed it across the table. She peered down. "What's this?" I replied. "It's reality." Upon opening it, she discovered a stack of printed messages, their entire exchange with Mart. The photographs, too. Her countenance shifted. Not fear, not remorse, merely irritation. "Well, Tom, you reproduced them. And I forwarded a copy to your parents and mine." This seemed to strike a chord. She blinked once. Her lips twitched subtly at the corner. "You don't believe they'll care?" "Not at all," I replied. "But once they learn the girls were involved, that changes things." Megan dropped her fork in surprise. "What do you imply?" I turned to her. "Don't you see the gravity of assisting your mother in deceit, facilitating her secretive actions, video calling the man she's having an affair with? Don't you think this won't be a factor in court?" Jessica moved closer. "You wouldn't do that either." I looked at her challengingly. Challenge accepted. A heavy silence descended. Kylie rose slowly, glancing nervously between us. "You're frightening us," I confirmed, "because this is the consequence when you choose deceit over honesty. This is what transpires when family values are disregarded by those entrusted with their preservation." Jessica sneered. "You're pitiful, and soon you'll witness pitifulness in court." She stormed away, slamming the bedroom door so forcefully that the windows shook. Megan retreated, mumbling indistinctly. Kylie remained rooted in the doorway. You're destroying everything, she murmured softly. No, I said. I'm bringing an end to it. And I was resolute in my intention. I had grown tired of idleness. I refused to watch this house deteriorate under my roof. It was high time to incinerate the falsehoods that were perpetuated. Let's see who emerges from the embers. The bedroom door remained closed all night, but I didn't mind. I spent the evening in my study with a pen, a notepad, and an unyielding memory. I penned down every neglected anniversary, every enigmatic late-night excursion, every falsehood she whispered before our children watched. I chronicled everything meticulously, including timestamps, screenshots, and even fuel receipts that contradicted her fabricated trips to Rachel's house. This was no longer about revenge. It was about evidence. At 2:27 a.m., I heard the door creak open. The sound of bare feet and deliberate steps followed. Jessica appeared in the doorway, arms folded, bloodshot eyes. "Did you send that information to my father?" she asked bluntly. "Yes, I did. He contacted me during dinner, wondering what on earth I had become," to which she didn't respond. She asked, "Don't you think this action of yours only highlights you instead?" I replied, "No. You're revealing precisely what you truly are." Her lips sneered. "You're driving a wedge between us, the girls." I replied, "They made that choice on their own. I'm merely demonstrating to them what fidelity should appear as." Jessica advanced into the room further. "You lacked the strength to deal with me." I stood up. "You were mistaken. I believed you were a collaborator, not a task." She gazed at me, speechless. No retort, no resistance, just icy, venomous quietude. Then she left again. The following morning, I found the kitchen void. The girls had vanished. No message, no text, no pre-warning. My heart sank. Not because I was surprised, but because I anticipated it. Jessica had taken them away. She played the frightened spouse card, the I don't feel secure game. She excels at contorting facts into empathy. However, the legal documents have already been filed. The lawyer has all the necessary information. Now, so does the court. Straight to my attorney's office, I delivered the conclusive evidence, voice recordings, text transcripts, and a declaration from Rachel, asserting Jessica hadn't been with her at any point. He commended me on my strategy. "Maintain your composure," he advised. "Judges dislike dramatic displays," I acknowledged, assuring him I aimed for victory through facts, not theatrics. That evening, an anonymous call came in. I answered. Mart, a condescending, rough voice, said, "You need to cease and desist. Jessica's done with you. Mature up and let go." I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "You've only made this simpler," I replied. "Now I have your threatening call on record as well." Another piece of evidence added to folder 2 days later. No communication from the girls ensued. Jessica neither texted nor called. She was aware of the impending court papers. Her silence was her new tactic. However, I wasn't pursuing them anymore. I was preparing. The custody hearing was set for a week afterward. Didn't contact them directly, as advised by my attorney, but took proactive measures instead. Reached out to Kylie's school counselor, whom I had met during the parent-teacher night last autumn. Explained that there was a domestic issue and expressed concern about potential emotional control tactics. The counselor agreed to draft a note, acknowledging Kylie's altered behavior in recent times, mood swings, withdrawal, decreased focus, gathered bank records, and demonstrated to the court that Jessica had been withdrawing cash late at night, which did not correspond to any household expenses. Also showed how funds were transferred into a separate account several months prior to any mention of dissatisfaction. Even traced Mart's gym, where I submitted an official request for record verification through my attorney to confirm visit logs. Jessica claimed ignorance about knowing him until recently, but records indicated she had been swiping in there for almost a year. Seemed like Jessica was engaged in a game of chess, unaware that her moves were being closely observed and documented. She hadn't known I was constructing the board from the ground up. Suddenly, Kylie messaged me with a simple question. "Can we talk?" I phoned straight away. On her third ring, she answered. Her voice quivered slightly. "Mom claimed you were trying to destroy everything," she said. "What do you think you're doing?" She hesitated. "I don't know anymore." I exhaled slowly. "Kylie, I'm not out to hurt her. I'm trying to preserve what remains. That includes you and Megan. She said you wanted to separate us from her forever." "No," I replied. "I want you with the parent who won't deceive you directly." A pause followed. "Then, can we meet?" Just the two of us. I checked the time. Tell me when and where. We arranged to meet at the local library, a neutral location. She arrived solo. When I spotted her, she had her hood up, eyes heavy. My heart almost sank seeing my daughter appeared to have aged 3 years in just 3 weeks. She sat opposite me, arms crossed, defensive. "Is it true?" she asked. "Did you want to see everything regarding Mart?" I passed her the file, identical to the one I'd shown the judge. It contained photos, records, and screenshots, nothing explicit, merely sufficient. She leafed through them slowly, her lips tightening as she progressed. Upon reaching the text where Jessica wrote, "He remains unaware, OL," she halted. Her fingers quivered. "She granted us a chance to speak with him," she murmured, more to herself than me. "Incorrect," I clarified. "It was you who she permitted to shield him." Kylie didn't sob, but her eyes glimmered. I observed the beginning of her crumble, the moment I had long anticipated, when the truth wasn't merely heard but felt. "She isn't as I believed her to be," she whispered. "No," I responded, "but I am." She looked up at me. For the first time in weeks, she didn't appear like a stranger. "May I return home tonight?" she queried. I nodded firmly. "Naturally. Always." We departed the library without exchanging additional words. One daughter back, another to follow, and Jessica was oblivious that the situation had just shifted. Jessica erupted upon discovering Kylie was in my house again. I heard the commotion before I even entered. It was Jessica screaming and demanding through Megan's voice. I stepped onto the porch, shutting the door behind me. "You're corrupting her," Jessica bellowed. Her mascara ran, hair disheveled, as if from a tempest, but the storm was solely of her making. She was calm until you began planting those manipulative tales in her mind. "She read your messages," I stated. She uncovered the truth. "That wasn't my narrative, that was yours." Megan stood at the foot of the stairs, arms folded, glaring as if I had stolen something. "You're ripping our family apart," she growled. "No," I replied, pointing towards the door. "That part remains intact." Jessica advanced. Her tone shifted like a switch. "Let's avoid this here. Come inside. We can discuss." "Inside your constructed facade?" I inquired. "The lie you've constructed?" "In the household where Mart is celebrated as a family hero and I am merely an employee," she declined. She was trapped in her own tactic, aiming to restart the manipulative pattern. "You can't have her," she hissed. "She came to me," I retorted. "And if you attempt to challenge that in court, I'll present all the evidence I showed her, every screenshot, every timestamp, every untruth." Her eyes blazed, not accustomed to being pinned down. She was familiar with weaving tales. "You're exploiting her to get to me," she accused. "No," I replied. "You were using her to conceal your actions. I'm merely rescuing her from the flames." Kylie emerged at the doorway, remaining silent. She watched from behind the screen. Jessica noticed her. Her expression shifted, softened, then stiffened. She turned back to me, more subdued. "You believe you'll emerge victorious," she muttered. "You think you'll portray me as the antagonist and depart unscathed." "No," I said. "I won't leave. I'm not walking away." Jessica departed, her gaze fixed on mine, ready to forfeit all. And so she walked away. No tears, no words to Kylie, not even a glance at the house she once knew as home. Inside, Kylie remained motionless. I extended my hand towards her. She took it. "That," I murmured softly, "is what authenticity appears like when it's pinned down." Megan didn't return home that night. She stayed with Jessica, but I sensed it. The time was inevitable. Because once the initial facade fractures, other cracks always emerge. 3 days before the custody hearing, I received an email. No title, no text in the body, just an attachment, a video. My stomach knotted as I initiated play. It was a recording from FaceTime. Megan had filmed it. In the video, Jessica and Mart were in bed, the covers entangled, her hair disheveled. They were laughing silently, amused by me, by how effortlessly they could manipulate the girls, about how empty-eyed I seemed at the dinner table. Initially, they believed the situation was resolved, assuming I would retreat to his office and weep. However, Jessica made a comment that halted everything. "If he attempts custody battles, I'll merely inform the court of the time he struck me. They will believe me. Observe him. He appears capable of violent outbursts." Mart chuckled, but she retorted, "I'm not cold. I'm smart." That statement sealed the fate. I sent the video to my attorney, and his response came swiftly. This alters everything. We have filed an emergency motion, not merely for custody, but full guardianship for protective supervision. The video provided compelling evidence of manipulation, threats, and an intention to fabricate abuse. Meanwhile, Megan continued her silence, hiding with Jessica. But I knew the incriminating video was from her. It served as a subtle apology. The following evening, there was a knock at my door. It was Megan, standing quietly, eyes red, wrapping herself in her arms. She appeared younger than I recalled, more compact, as if she had glimpsed the hidden shadow. "I received the court documents," she stated. I nodded, uncertain of her motive. "It turns out she was planning to deceive about you. She informed Mart that you harmed her." "I understand." She glanced away. "I apologize." I didn't inquire as to why she sent the video. I didn't ask why now. Instead, I opened the door further. She entered slowly, warily. Inside, Kylie descended the stairs, saw her sibling, immobilized for a moment. Then, without words, they embraced. Deeply, authentically. For a fleeting instant, the house felt complete. Not mended, not corrected, but alive once more. Later in the evening, Megan entered the living room. "Do you think the court will believe you?" she inquired. I looked at her. They don't need to believe me. They merely need to witness. And thanks to her, they would. The courtroom wasn't like in the movies. No shouting, no spectacle. Just a cold, tense room where lives are scrutinized by strangers in suits. Jessica wore white, appropriate, a prop for a play. In a crisp makeup, lips set in a calculated pout for displaying vulnerability, she sat. I found myself beside my lawyer, with Megan and Kylie nearby. Jessica avoided eye contact with us all. Upon the judge's request for opening statements, her counsel initiated, portraying me as dominating, emotionally detached, and disconnected from home affairs. They asserted that Jessica bore the emotional burden of household management and sought help when overwhelmed. Unmoved, I listened. Following this, my lawyer responded with composure and precision, dismantling her story bit by bit. He presented the correspondence, proof, chronology, reserving the video for the finale. Upon playback, Jessica remained unmoved, but her attorney grew ashen. Mart's voice echoed with laughter. Jessica's expression displayed a smirk. Her words, "I'll simply tell the court he hit me. Look at him. He appears to be a man who might snap." The room fell silent. The judge requested a replay of the final 10 seconds, twice. Jessica attempted to explain herself, stating it was venting. The video was misrepresented. The judge didn't find it convincing. No intense reactions ensued. There were no thunderous gavels, no shocked exclamations. Instead, there were calm, deliberate choices made. Temporary full custody was granted to me. Visitation rights suspended, pending a psychiatric evaluation. A claim of false accusations is under further legal review. Marty Fresh was ordered to stop contacting both daughters immediately. Jessica didn't weep. She merely stared at me. I didn't return her gaze. Instead, I looked at Megan, then Kylie, and ahead towards the next chapter of my life. Beyond the courtroom, Megan grasped my hand. She said, "Thank you." I returned the squeeze. Kylie leaned against me. "Can we go home?" We did. And that night, for the first time in months, our house felt like ours once more. There were still remnants to clear up, therapy appointments to schedule, trust to rebuild. But the venom was extracted. Jessica chose a man who made her feel potent. She destroyed her family within the smoke of his presence. In the end, truth prevailed over all, triumphing in its victory. For anyone finding themselves ensnared in a gradual deception where honesty is replaced by silence and lies become commonplace, here's a word of caution. Document your observations. Maintain records. Remain calm. Don't plead or shout. Instead, collect evidence. Liars may excel at prolonged deceit, but they often overlook one crucial detail. Evidence never falsifies. And when the final revelation occurs, that evidence will resonate more powerfully than ever before. This moment marks my unveiling, and now the process of rebuilding commences.